All right, welcome back, everybody. As promised, treasurer of NARPM and a friend of mine. We served together on the board way back when, and she is still on the board 5 years later. Angela Holman. Angela, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you, Pete. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me.
So I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, and every conference I see you, I'm like, "Hey, come, got to be on the show." And you're like, "Yeah, sure, just let me know." And it's been like a year since I've been asking, and I'm like, "All right, we finally got to get Angela on." So the first question I like to ask you, Angela, because this is a NARPM podcast, you have, as I said in in your intro, you've given back your treasurer now, so you're on the pathway to hopefully president, right, in another couple of years or a year or two, and you've been on, the chair of national boards and all that good stuff. So two-part question: what is, why, and two is how has it affected your business, whether positive or negative?
Okay. So yeah, I've done a lot with NARPM. I've been a NARPM member for 24 years now. I've served in various capacities, whether it be locally, I was one of the founding members of my local chapter, served as like president in that chapter,
How many
moved
times did you serve president in your local chapter?
on. I served, I think it was 3 or 4 years in a row. And then it was coming up on the next term. And I was like, you guys, we got to switch. We got to, you're tired of me. But so I'm very familiar with that for all those chapters presidents that have served multiple times. I've been there myself. Nationally, I was on member services for I believe 12 years and chaired member services 2 of those years. I was on finance committee a couple of years, and now obviously as treasurer back on that. Did broker owner committee 1 year. So
Okay, so that's
I've
a
run
lot.
the gamut of various areas. And the reason is because I get just as much out of it when I'm there. I'm connecting with other people, I'm connecting with NARPA members, I'm getting information about the industry through the meetings and stuff. So it's giving me as much knowledge as I'm trying to give out, if that makes sense. So I would say anybody join up, volunteer, get involved because it will benefit you personally through connections and people. And then professionally, I have obviously through my NARPM connections, my business has grown. I got in a position one time where I was approached to buy somebody's portfolio. And it was back in the time we didn't have the community where you could pop in a quick question and get some answers. This was before that time. So, I picked up the phone, called a couple of NARPM people. One of them happened to be in a car with another NARPM friend driving to a conference. They put me on speakerphone. They talked me through things to ask, things to do. And I was able to successfully buy that portfolio, which of course, in terms of bottom line, obviously added to my profit. So in terms of just pure profit, NARPM can help you with that. Being involved can help you with that. The connections you make can help you.
Yeah, the old adage is true, right? It's not just what you know, it is who you know.
It is who
Building
you
those
know.
relationships,
Yep.
you have trust already there, and so now you were able to take take up on a on an opportunity.
Well, and it's nice because you develop those relationships across the US. So, this happened to be an event happening in my own backyard. I didn't want to reach out to one of my other NARPM friends in my own backyard about this. I needed to go somewhere else. And so because I had built up my NARPM family, I was able to reach out to people.
One of when we were at I think we were in training at in Virginia Beach. I think what
Yeah.
is that? That's not training. That's
Strategic planning.
strategic planning.
Yeah.
Uh, a uh, a storm hit North Carolina, which is odd. It's not the storm from last year, which devastated North Carolina. It was a big storm that hit North Carolina, and one of the NARP members called Gail Phillips, the executive director, and I just happened to be walking by, and I had just come through Hurricane Harvey here in Houston, and we had done a whole bunch of stuff on navigating that hurricane, and Gail like literally says, "Hold on, hey Pete, can you talk to this member about how you guys handled the hurricane?" You know, and so next thing you know, I'm on the phone for the next 45 minutes just telling them everything we did on on how to prepare, on how to get the messaging out, how how we did checks, property checks, life checks, right, tenant resident checks, things of that nature. And so that right there is the value in NARPM, being a member and also being on the board.
Well, and
So
even, I mean, even if it's not life events like that, it's, my daughter is currently in Phoenix going to school. She's been living on campus in an apartment, but they're looking to find a place off campus for next year. I've made a couple calls to NARPM buddies down in Arizona in the Phoenix area saying, hey, my daughter's looking, can I connect her with you? So it's even just those sort of things where you can connect with people and you can be confident that I'm confident I'm putting her in the right hands when looking for a rental because I'm going through an ARPM family member. So yeah, it's great.
now one of the things that people say is, man, I would love to give back, but it takes a lot of time. When you were on that chair for membership, how much time a month do you think you actually spent?
So when I was chair of member services, we had one meeting once a month for an hour. And then beyond that, prep time or emails of things, you might spend another hour a week or so. We're not talking significant amount of time, and all the committees meet through Zoom, so it's easy. You don't have to go anywhere. You just commit that hour to be on those calls, giving feedback, running through ideas of how to better the organization. So if you have 5 to 10 hours a month, you could easily serve and do it within that time frame.
So being connected allowed you to grow your business through an acquisition. Did it allow you to run your business more effectively? Because
Oh,
some people,
absolutely.
I think I talked to, um, I think it was Bart when I talked to him, and he, I don't know if it was in the podcast or offline, but he said that, his business suffered a little bit when he was president because of all the travel that he had to do. Are you finding that at all, or are you finding that your business is running just fine and growing even if you're giving back to NARPM?
So for me, the way we're structured here, I have not had that issue. Now, Bart, when he was president, it was a little different format, how much those guys were traveling versus what we're doing now. But I have an amazing staff who have been with me long term. I think one of my staff members just passed her 17-year anniversary. My newest, if you want to say that, staff member is coming up on her 12-year anniversary. So these are people that have been here, know my process, know how I do things, and I can walk out and know they have it without any hesitation. So last year when I was Central Region RVP, and I would go to chapter visits or down to Texas style, I had no issues walking away, walking out the door and having any kind of hiccup in the business. Probably most people didn't even know I had left for the week. So,
How long can you leave the business? Can you leave for a month?
ooh, I don't think I could leave for a month just because of some of the functions of what my duties are within the office. Um, I could probably leave a good 2 to 3 weeks, but I think I probably still need about a week or so in the office every month.
Okay. So 2 to 3 weeks you can leave. And when you come back, when you come back, let's say you go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I know when I went on vacation for like literally 2 days at Empire, I was putting in 12 to 14-hour days to catch up. What kind of catch up time are you talking about here?
Normally if I've been gone, I'm going to relate it to a week because I've never taken a 2 week vacation because maybe I'm a
Okay.
workaholic. I don't know.
Yeah.
So if I'm gone a week, I can come back and I can be caught up within the first day. So within 8 hours, I can catch up on whatever had happened that week that
So
needed
call
my
2 weeks,
attention.
2 days then, 1 day a week,
Probably,
1 day for every
probably.
week.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
solid. So let's talk about how you got there, right? So How many? I know you're in Grand Junction, so it's kind
Mhm.
of I'll call it a tier two market, right? It's not like not one of like Houston, LA, Chicago, anything like that. Um, how many units are you guys managing? And then let's talk about your structure and then how you got there over time, right? Because I'm guessing when you started, you had all the hats. You were wearing everything, right? So talk a
Yes.
little bit about that journey and how you found people and how you got to the point where now you're CEO of your company.
So when I started, well, right now we're just under 400 doors.
Okay.
And we're talking single family, some multifamily stuff, not large, like fourplexes, some duplexes, stuff like that. Um,
So still, I mean, still single family, one to four
Still,
units.
yeah, yeah. And when I started, obviously started with 0 doors. And yes, wearing all the hats. And I was very intentional about my process from the start. I was very intentional on what kind of properties I would take. And even though I had 0 doors, just because somebody came to me with a property that was
Really?
not something that would fit what my plan was, I would not take it. So I did not take doors just
Okay, I
get
gotta ask,
started.
going back in time, would you change that just to get revenue in the door? Like,
No,
or no?
no. I think because
Did
it
you
set a
have other
standard.
income coming in at the time?
No,
Were you flipping properties or nothing?
no,
No.
no.
Wow.
I was
Okay.
living off of savings when I opened
Really?
my doors. And I felt like I was setting a standard for how I wanted my business to run. And I didn't want to compromise that standard. So,
Wow.
so I was very intentional about properties that I took, what area of town they might be in, stuff like that. So I grew and I
I'm laughing
never,
because you and I were complete opposite. I
I
was like a
know,
hooker, man. I took
I
anything
know,
that came by. You got
anything
50
else,
bucks, I'll take it, right? I
right?
mean, I had to wear a bulletproof vest and carry my 9mm with me the first 2 or 3 years I was in business.
Right. So when I started, this was again before like a big social media bliss or anything. I went to Sam's Club, got a big jar of candy. They were York peppermint patties, if I remember. Taped my business card to each piece of candy, went to the local sales offices, went to every desk and started putting candy with a business card. That was my advertisement. I have never paid, so to speak, for advertisement. It's always been word of mouth for me. But I think I can do that being in kind of a smaller community.
Mhm.
You just can, you have more connections with people being in a smaller area. So that's how I started growing. That's how referrals start coming to me. And that's how I started growing my business. Once I got to, I believe it was around 70 to 75 doors, that's when I needed at least some help part-time, like answering the phones.
Okay.
If I was out showing or doing a move out inspection, something, I needed some help. So I hired just a college girl part-time at that point. Um, and then once I hit over 100, I was like, okay, I really need somebody that, hey, if I'm down and out, if I have the flu for a few days, I need somebody that can be in office. So that's when I hired my first full-time person.
Okay.
Um,
That tracks. That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. Hmm.
yeah. And so then once I had her in place, and it was somebody who in Colorado, we have to be licensed. So it was somebody who got licensed. So if I was out for some reason, they still had that capability because of the license.
What did you have that first person do? Was it just like just an assistant, like basically anything I couldn't do, or did you kind of build a job description around all the stuff that you didn't like to do? Like how did that
It
come about?
wasn't that I didn't like to, but what I functioned her to do versus what I was not wanting to take my hat off on yet was leasing stuff. So she scheduled showings and went out to properties and did the showings. She was processing the applications. All that sort of stuff was under her umbrella at that point in
Okay.
time. So we
Curious, did
obviously,
you have at the time, did you build an org chart at the time, or you just kind of winged
no,
it as you went? Just kind of
I
winged
just sort
it.
of winged it as I started
Okay.
going.
So now you have 100 doors, you have a full-time person, they're doing showings and they're basically backing you up when you're down and out. I'm
Right.
guessing if you're a workaholic, you didn't take very many vacations at that time.
No, I still wasn't taking a whole lot of vacations, but I squeezed some in. But then of course, once you've got that first full-time person on, you have to grow a little bit more to,
Yep. The
to be
seesaw effect, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah, like you hire somebody and now, oh, wow, the profit is really not there enough for me to make
exactly,
money. So now I got to go grow the business. Then I got to
exactly,
stress my team out. Then I got to go hire somebody else. And now I got to go grow the business.
right.
Okay.
So we started growing a little more. Then
Same way, through referrals.
yep, all through referrals.
Okay.
Um, then I hired my next part-time in person, just office administrative duties, phone answering, filing, anything in office that I needed done, was her job. Um, at that point in time was when I kind of did a little analysis of how far do you want to go with this? How much more do you want? And one of the jobs that is not my favorite job, and I wanted to get rid of that hat, was maintenance coordination. I I did not want that hat anymore. So I specifically grew enough to hire a full-time maintenance coordinator. Um,
Now
and
you have two
that's
full-time people and the
I,
part-time person.
I have two full-time and a part-time,
Okay.
and then
And
myself.
about how many are you, like 150 at this point? 125?
I was getting close to around two when I hired that other full-time person.
Okay. Again,
So
yeah. So
yeah,
you basically have one person for every 100 units,
yep,
plus you have the
yep,
half, plus you have you.
yep.
Yep. Okay. One
So,
for every 50
um,
almost.
so that's kind of where, again, once you hire that next person, like you said, the seesaw effect. Now I've got to build just a little more at least to kind of cover salaries and all of that. So I'm done. I'm not going to grow anymore. We're a happy crew here. I'm happy sticking close to 400. Um,
And what do you
you
got? Four people working for you now, full time?
So nope, the two full-time and a part-time and myself.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So,
Now, which hats do you wear in the business other than CEO?
so my hats, I take care of anything financial. So I'm dealing, and anything with owners for the most part, other than if it's maintenance related. So if owners have question about their statements, that's all coming to me. My degree is in accounting. So numbers for me is an easy thing. So it made sense to stick the financials with me and deal with owners in terms of financials. So that's really my wheelhouse. And then just onboarding any new owners is also in
So you're
my.
still doing the sales, you're still onboarding. Or when you onboard, do you keep the property until it's stable, or do you give that to your property manager, or how do you handle that
No,
transition?
it's instantly goes. So if it's a vacant property, it instantly goes to my leasing agent as, hey, this is open, this is ready, start doing your thing to get it rented up.
All right, so your positions that you have, then do you still have the office person then? Is that the part-time person you
So my
still have?
part-time is an office admin, yeah.
Okay. Then you have the maintenance coordinator.
Mhm.
And then do you have are they called property managers, or what's the other two positions?
So the other position is a leasing agent. That's what I
Okay.
call her,
Okay.
whether it's property manager or leasing agent. And then just myself doing the financial stuff.
Got it. Okay. So any resident phone calls come in, the leasing slash property manager handles all of that.
It's a team effort. So, the phone might ring and the maintenance coordinator is the one available to answer it. And the tenant has a question about when does my lease expire? She'll pull it up and answer. It doesn't necessarily have to get shifted. So we all kind of pitch in team effort to try and help and answer calls and resolve issues if tenants come in with
Works
an issue.
well when your shortest tenured team member is 12 years.
And yeah, and that's exactly it. Once you have that kind of longevity, um, it creates great process for your company to flow through and great trust in those employees and what they can do for you.
So you're kind of maintaining, you want to stay right around that, let's call it 400 for lack of a better word, right? So you're
Yeah.
around that 400. Um, when I talk to property managers across the country, I'm hearing that there actually a lot of them are losing doors. They're retracting. They're not growing. They're they're actually retracting a little bit. Are you seeing that in your market and your business, or are you kind of stabilizing? Because we all have some churn, right? Whether the people sell or whatever. What kind of churn rate are you seeing in your market?
I have little to no right now.
Wow. Okay.
I have last year, and in part, unfortunately, it was due to legislative issues in Colorado. I had a couple of owners that did not
So,
want to, they wanted to sell, they wanted out of the game just because of some legislative,
did they
uh,
get totally out of the game? Just curious, or did they move their way
totally.
to a
They,
different
they,
market?
nope, they did not go into a different market. They totally went out of the game and chose to invest other ways. Um, but that was a few. I think last year I think it was like 6 units that I lost specifically because of that. But otherwise, I don't have anything flipping over right now. It's very stable for me.
Do you, Steve, there's a guy, Steve Crossland, he's retired now, but he was out of Austin and he used to maintain like, I think between 100 and 120 properties. And every year he would go trim it back down to 100 properties. He'd go to a 120, he would trim it back down. Do you do that at all? Do you look at the end of the year and say, these are my class D, uh, I mean, I'm guessing most of your people have been with you for a long time, but do you trim it down because you've created these referral programs, or are you right now just giving off all these leads to other PM firms?
So we're not, we have occasionally trimmed. But I think again, because initially I set that standard of the type of property and
Yeah,
even the type of owner. I don't want an owner who's going to micromanage me a lot. You're trusting me to do a job. I'm the professional. Believe in me, and if you have an owner that fights you on that, that's the ones I've gotten rid of. It wasn't because of their property, it was maybe the owner. But it's happened very few times. So that's not a regular process for us. And I think part of it is because of the standard set as to what type of property I want, what type of owner I want. We just don't have that issue. Um, so it's not something that we do, but yes, I get calls a couple a week of people, hey, will you manage stuff? And I find out what it is and determine if I really want to take it
are you
on.
just more selective now?
But I'm
Like it used to be
extremely selective
here, like,
now.
now it's really like, it's got to be really, really,
Yeah,
um,
and I don't want now, I'm really selective in the ones that you get the calls where, I have a job transfer. I don't want to sell my house or I can't sell my house because the price I paid versus what I could get it, whatever. Those are not the ones, the incidental landlords I don't want. I want intentional investors. They just understand the business so much better. So I'm really particular about what we'll take. So a lot of the calls I get, I refer over to other NARPM members in the area.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I literally built my business complete opposite way, and I probably made more revenue than you did early on, but I definitely had a lot more chaos in my business mid and late term than you did. If you can stick to your guns and really build the business the way you want, I think it reduces a lot. Well, it reduces churn for one, and I think it reduces a lot of chaos in the business.
Well, and I think it depends on your lifestyle too. I have a daughter, I was a single mom. I needed to have some flexibility and I think when you grow to a big number like you had, it just takes more of your time. It just does. And I think if you have something a little smaller, it gives you a little more freedom in your lifestyle choices. So it gave me the opportunity to leave when there was a PTA meeting or leave and go to basketball games. And that's what I wanted. That was important to me.
What do you think, being in a smaller market, what do you think some of the challenges that you guys see that people like maybe in Houston, like a big market, don't see? What are some of those challenges?
I would say some of our challenges are really related more around affiliates or vendors, or, I'm terribly jealous of the people that get to use, on-site pros. I would love to have on-site pros in my area to help me with,
Yeah.
but it's just not. So we just don't get access to some of the things that some of the bigger markets get. And our pool of potential vendors just local is smaller, we don't have as many plumbing companies. We don't have as many just general handyman. So you really, those relationships are vitally important that we really hone into them and we make sure that some of our vendors know you are our top person. You scratch our back, we'll scratch your back. And we really value those relationships with them because we know that we're limited on the number of people we can pull from. So that's one of the factors that I would say is the biggest.
What about like finding investors or finding properties? Not that big of a challenge.
I've not seen that be a problem in our area. We've had no issues getting investors, whether they be local investors, whether they be out of state investors. We have lots of people. We do have a university here in Grand Junction, so there is growth. There is, reasons to have investment properties here. But we have never had an issue finding investors.
What about competition? Is there a lot of competition for, per capita? Like in Houston, I mean, just getting on the front page is an act of God on Google because
Yeah,
everybody and their grandmother hangs a shingle nowadays, especially
yeah.
with sales is kind of drying up a little bit.
I would say in terms of per capita, it's probably very similar. I mean, you have some of the bigger players and the longer term players. But man, I notice, I'm driving around town and I see all of a sudden a sign for, you know, mom and pop property manager, somebody new that I've never heard of. I don't know who, so we're the same. We're getting everybody throwing their shingle up, getting into the game. But so there's some competition out there, but again, it's probably per capita really similar to what you experience.
So let's go back to the vendors real quick. How do you like, because you have to keep them, right? You have to make them happy. Obviously, the first way of doing that is giving them business. But what are some other, are there anything else that you do? Like, do you have like an appreciation? Do you do a vendor agreement? Like, what are some of the things that you do to make sure, like, do you pay them weekly? Like what are some of the tips that you can give other people on how to make sure that that vendor puts you on the top of their to-do list? Like when they
So
get
one of,
three work
yeah.
orders, I'm going to go to, Premier first.
So one of the things that the discussions we have with our vendors is we tell them how many doors we have. And we tell them by working with us, you automatically have access to 400 properties. You're not having to go out and hustle to do carpet on a one-off because, you know, Joe homeowner wants to do new carpet. You're going to see him once and he's done. I have 400 units. I'm going to come to you every time. So we make sure they know how many properties we have and that they're our go-to person.
By the way, just if you're listening to this and you don't have 400 properties yet, that's always a good number. Always inflate a little bit.
Right.
Now, I'm not condoning that you
I
lie, but
got
maybe just inflate just a little bit.
I got you. So then beyond that, we don't pay them weekly. We pay them once a month.
Oh,
And they're
wow.
all
Okay.
very aware of that. But Christmas time, they get Christmas gifts from me.
Nice.
They get gift cards to eat out. They get some of them I know I happen to know them because we've worked with them. I know they're hunters, so I'm getting them gift cards to Sportsman's Warehouse so they can get gear. So I try and make it personal based on the knowledge of what I have for them, and just as a show of appreciation.
And do you have a vendor agreement that you have them sign, or do you do like an
I
onboarding with
don't.
them? Okay.
I don't. I think some of my ways, and maybe it's because of the market I'm in, it's still, a handshake means a lot here in Grand Junction. So, not to say that everything is done on a handshake, but we don't have vendor agreements.
Interesting. I know that was one thing that we did do, but we did a lot, of what you're saying. We did something around Thanksgiving because no one does things for
Oh,
people on Thanksgiving instead of
oh,
Christmas time.
good
We used to
idea.
have a big potluck, but we also did an onboarding for them, like almost like a training session. Here's how we do things. Here's what we want you to do. Before after photos. in, sending invoices like within 30 days. And we did pay weekly, which that was if you got your invoice in by Tuesday, it got paid on Friday, which they really liked.
My only concern with that, and I mean, you guys have to be licensed in Texas. So like for us, because of having to have funds in an escrow for an owner, like, you can't commingle the funds. It made it sense to me to only pay them, like I pay
Once the
them on
rents
the
came
10th.
in.
Yeah, I pay them on the 10th, once rents have kind of come in and before I pay my owners. Um, so that's why I always set it up that way.
Yeah, it's smart. It's smart. And again, if as long as you have like you just got to set expectations,
Yeah.
right? As long as you have those
Oh,
expectations set, then it's like just what communication with our residents, communication with our owners, and communication with our vendors, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Do you guys do self showings over there? Do you use Tenant Turner or Show Mojo or anything like that?
We do not. We still meet tenants out at property, and show them.
Seriously.
Yeah, we do. And I think I'm going to go for a couple of reasons on that.
All right.
Again, I think just the smaller town, smaller feel, it's just that customer service skill. And
Is
I
Grand
think,
Junction pretty easy to get around?
oh, super, I can be from one end of town to the other in 20 minutes if I need to.
I can't
So
even get out of my neighborhood in 20 minutes.
right.
I'm used to
So
that.
it makes sense that we could still do it. I get
That's
different
providing
market.
that wow experience, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think real estate is a customer service business. As much as we want to make it more automated, you wouldn't have somebody that does sales just tell a client, yeah, just go open the lockbox on your own and walk through. And I don't want to do that with property management either. It's still a very customer service based industry, and I want to keep that part in, at least in our company model.
Makes sense, especially if you want to stay at a certain level and you want to give. So you basically are running a kind of a boutique shop, and if you run a boutique shop, you're going to have you're going to have less churn, which you're having, and you're going to provide that wow experience. And
Right?
my guess is that when you have a new owner, you meet them at the house as well if they want to meet at the house.
They'll meet, a lot of them just come in office, but yes, some of them want me to walk out to their house, walk through, give them feedback, but yeah, either way.
All right, all right, Ange, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to hit you with the lightning round.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody. All right, welcome back. Angela Holman, are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh my gosh, I'm a little nervous for the lightning round, but I think I can handle it.
All right, here we go. What property management software do you use?
Oh, Propertyware.
You're on Propertyware. Oh, man, I still love Propertyware. It's such near and dear to my heart.
I
Um,
love it.
all right, a sidebar here. What do you think RealPage is doing with Propertyware? Are they gonna sunset it, you think? Or like, are
I
they going
I
to,
hope not. I mean, I know we've all heard some stuff happening, but they have reached out. They have said they're solid, they're staying. They have told me that they're not going anywhere. So
they didn't
that's what
try to
I'm
move you to
going off of.
Buildium? They didn't try to move you to Buildium?
No, they did not.
Okay. I heard
So
like if they took like I think it was like less than 300, they were like moving them to Buildium. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. All right.
yeah.
But
So,
yeah, I used to love Propertyware. If it was me and I was doing it again, I'd probably go Renvine because I just don't know. I just don't trust where Propertyware is going in the future. But
and if I was starting over again, and if I really wanted to do the switching, I would look at rent find seriously.
all right. I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you use virtual team members?
I do not, but I know who to reach out to if I ever decide to.
Can't imagine who that could be. What would you give? What's one piece of advice you would give someone just starting out in the property management business?
Hmm. Um, Obviously one, join NARPM, get the education, but I would also say stick with your plan. When you go to NARPM events and you start hearing everybody else's business models and what they're doing, and some of it's great and you can incorporate it, but don't totally shift what you're doing because of what you've heard from somebody else. Stick with your plan, incorporate different ideas.
I like that. Does pineapple belong on pizza? I know how you're going to answer it already because I saw the way you just looked at me. For those of you that are on the
Here's what
video,
I'm going to say. I personally would not eat pineapple on pizza, but we have a local pizzeria here that we have Palisade, which is close to us, has peaches. And this place makes a peach pizza
the
that
only thing worse than pineapple on pizza is probably
it
peach on
is
pizza.
so good. So because I love that pizza, I'm gonna have to say yes, even though I wouldn't do pineapple personally.
New rule, no fruit on pizza. What was your first job?
Oh, my first job was we had a small little amusement park here in town. I think I was 14 when I worked there over the summer, and I helped run the amusement park rides.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What is something other than working at and running an amusement park? What is something that most people don't know about you?
I think most people probably do not know I have a love of baking. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to bake, and I was the only granddaughter. So I got to spend lots of time with her in the kitchen baking. So it's one of my most favorite things to do.
I do expect cookies or some kind of muffin next time I see you.
Sounds good.
If you could have dinner with anyone alive, who would it be?
Well, here's the thing. So I did just watch Randall's or listen to Randall's podcast, and Randall stole my answer,
That's okay.
which
I
no,
was there and I don't remember his answer.
oh, his was Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. So I was like, dang, Randall took who I would pick. So I'm gonna go different and I'm gonna go a group. I'm not gonna pick a person.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the US men's basketball gold winning medalist from the Paris
All
Olympics.
right. So you get about 12
So
guys
I can
in
get and coaches. I want coaches. I just find professional athletes and the level of intensity and their dedication to stuff is just fascinating to me. And then to talk to coaches that coach these people, that would be a fascinating dinner.
I think it would be. Um, what's a book that you're reading or one that's impacted your business or life that you would recommend?
So all my books that I read are just really more just leisure and escape, you know. So I don't know that a book has impacted me. Um, I mean, I've read some business books and I think they all get very dry, but I think people impact me, whether it be, you know, my gym family, my NARPM family, my daughter. I get impacted by other people more than I do a book.
Okay. I'll let you off the hook on that one. And what is one challenge you're currently facing in your business?
Um, the thought and the process of planning for an exit strategy. That's what
Okay.
I'm kindly starting to think about. And so that would be the challenge in front of me over the next few years.
You mentioned your daughter's no interest in taking that over.
No, no, she's getting her degree in sports and entertainment management, and
Oh, nice.
she has
She's gonna live the
no,
life you were supposed to live, huh?
I know, right?
What do you prefer, dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs,
You're a dog person.
dogs,
Mhm.
labs.
And if somebody wanted to reach out to you and just ask you a couple of questions, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Just email me, Angela at premierpropertygj.com.
Premier Property GJ, Grand
Yep.
Junction.com.
Or find
And
me at any NARPM event, broker
yeah,
owner.
you're on the big board
I'm
now.
I'm there. Come grab me and have a conversation.
You got it. And if you want to join NARPM and be cool like the rest of us, if you listen to this and you're not a NARPM member, get on it. Go to NARPM, NARPM.org, or give them a call at 800-782-3452. And if you are looking for a remote team member, unlike Angela, go to vpmsolutions.com or email me directly, pete@vpmsolutions.com. Angela, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate you.
See you, everybody.